Welcome to a special two-part bonus episode of the 98% Life After Prison, a podcast dedicated to the vast majority of people incarcerated in North Carolina who will eventually be returning home to our communities, often with little more than the clothes on their backs. I'm April Barber Scales.
And I'm Judy Van White. And it's great to be back together again, April. What have you been up to for the last couple months?
Well, lots happened the last few months. I graduated with my bachelor's degree in criminal justice and started my master's degree in January, along with a drug and alcohol certification. And on Monday, I start a new job.
Yay! And tell me a little bit about the new job.
Well, the new job is at a place called Caramore, who have a primary diagnosis of mental health, but they have a lot of wraparound services. They offer bridge housing, supportive employment, and I'm not sure what all else.
Yeah, and you're going to get paid better.
The pay is going to be better, and that has to do with getting a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, that's great news. And for those of you out there who don't believe a college degree is worth the time and money, April's experience suggests that there is a way to get a college degree without going broke, and that it definitely can pay off in terms of earning power, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I actually didn't pay anything for my bachelor's degree. I used financial aid, and I ended on zero. So you should absolutely utilize financial aid.
All right. And you really figured out how to do that.
Trial and error.
That's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
Now for today's bonus episode. If you live anywhere in North Carolina's Triangle area, you probably, or at least vaguely familiar with Trosa. Perhaps you've bought a tree from their Christmas tree kiosk, or you've seen their moving trucks, or you've seen their lawn care service at work, or you've visited their thrift store in North Durham. Trosa is a co-educational 2-year residential program that takes a holistic approach to treating substance use disorder. It's based on the concept of a therapeutic community. And what's a therapeutic community, you may ask? Well, roughly speaking, it's a highly structured residential treatment model that uses the community itself to promote recovery from addiction. I sat down with CEO Keith Artin to talk about how Trosa's evidence-based program works to promote people's recovery and support their reintegration back into community. Here's what he had to say.
My name is Keith Artin. I'm the president and CEO of Trosa. I came to Trosa in 2001 as a volunteer, and after a couple of months, looked into potentially working here. Didn't think I'd do it for long, and that was, again, 2001. It's now 2025. The thing that connected me with Trosa was the way that people work together. I've always looked for things where people work together to accomplish things that they can't accomplish by themselves. And Trosa was like that, but really amped up.
Uh-huh.
It had the gravity of it was much greater. The importance of it was much greater. This wasn't about people working together to do a project at school or people working together to do something successful in a business or something. This was people working together to get a better life.
Trosa is an acronym?
Yes. It stands for Triangle Residential Options for Substance Abusers, but that's a mouthful, and Trosa is a lot easier to say.
Let's just start with the obvious. What does Trosa do?
Trosa is a long-term residential program for people who struggle with substance use disorders. We are here for people who want a better life, and we do that through helping create a sense of community and also helping people understand responsibility and obligation to one another in that community. Our program is holistic. We're working not just on sobriety, but also on mental and physical health. We're helping people with vocational skills, life skills. We provide everything people need while they're here: food, housing, clothing, etc., transportation. And we do that all at no cost to the individual.
Can you tell me just briefly about how Kevin McDonald arrived at this model and what brought him to Durham and how, yeah.
Sure. So Kevin McDonald was a member of a program like this, a community like this out in California called the Lansing Street Foundation. He spent about 12 years there, although he lived at different locations, and actually helped them open a location in Greensboro, North Carolina. And when he did that, he did a lot of speaking engagements around North Carolina and got to know some people in the Triangle. He went back to California, eventually moved on from Delancey Street, and was working at a program in LA with gang members, and was approached by a group of community members here in the Triangle who asked him would he be willing to move to Durham and try to open a similar program. From his perspective, he liked the idea of what Delancey Street did for him, and he also knew there were things that he would like to change to, he thought, make it a better program. And so he basically took the model that he saw and he modified it. We actually often call ourselves a modified therapeutic community because we've incorporated a lot of elements that you don't typically see in the TC model, including a lot more support for mental and physical health, and also a lot of support for our graduates. So to help people not just be successful within the community, but help them be successful after they leave the community.
Then let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Just if you could describe the services that Trosa offers and how the program works.
Sure. So a lot of our program, it's sort of a model where the longer someone's here, the more, the program sort of evolves based on the amount of time you're here in the program. The first month we call internship. That's where people are basically learning the basic rules of the program, getting their feet firmly planted under them, getting past the withdrawal from drugs and alcohol. We don't do medical detox here, but even after medical detox, some people can have lingering effects for a while, for a few weeks at least. After about a month, then people go into what we call the freshman phase of the program, and they are given a community assignment. So everyone after that internship is given a meaningful assignment in the community. That could be in a department that helps us do everything we need to do every day, whether it's like the kitchen or our property maintenance department that's keeping up the physical plant, and also people are assigned to different social enterprises that we have, which help support our program. I should say that we're a nonprofit organization. So in order to do this without charging the individual, we need to cobble together various sources, and that includes the revenue generated from social enterprises. We have a moving operation, lawn care, thrift, and a seasonal Christmas tree operation. And during people's community assignments, while they're doing things that help contribute to the community, they're also practicing a lot of the skills that we're working on here, helping people build interpersonal skills, specific vocational skills, coping skills. We're working with people on how they can be successful after they leave, as I said earlier, and helping people understand how to work well with other people, and also how to deal with adversity, how to deal with issues as they arise in a way that is not going to lead to you losing your job. It's not going to lead to you having excessive conflict in your life. At 6 months, people enter the resident phase of the program. I a lot of times refer to everyone here as a resident, but technically 6 months to 21 months is resident phase. And that's sort of a more senior version of the freshman. You have a little more free time. less mandatory groups, and more responsibilities, and more privileges. Leading up to 21 months, at 21 months, you can do one of two things. You can either go on workout, which means you're finding a job out in the community, and you can continue to live at Trosa at no cost, but you have a job outside of Trosa, and you can save your money. And, it's gives you a time to build up a little nest egg so that when you leave, you can enter our graduate phase where we have supportive, low-cost graduate housing. And you also can always return to Trosa for meals, for social events. We have graduates who come back years after leaving the program. If they work in the neighborhood, they'll come every day for lunch or dinner. At 21 months, a person could also enter our postgraduate phase if they want to, our senior resident phase. And that basically is saying that they would like to stay longer at Trosa. In a lot of ways, like a graduate student chooses to stay in college. This is working for them. They want to keep working at it. And that's something that they can do if they choose to. And then at any point in the postgraduate phase, they can choose to then go and work out whenever they want. They don't lose that opportunity for that time to get a job outside and save money.
People with substance use disorder, it's been shown that 9 times out of 10, it comes from trauma. It used to be just, we thought it was something that people inherited, but it has been shown to come from trauma, and that it's often accompanied with mental health issues. So you have some pretty traumatized people coming here, and handling that in community, I imagine, can become challenging.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking about things that Kevin wanted to incorporate in the program. There was a pretty quick recognition on his part that the therapeutic community model has been successful for a lot of people, but in most cases, it is lacking the capability to address and recognize and acknowledge co-occurring mental health issues. And that was incorporated pretty early on in the Trosa program, working with some psychiatrists from Duke University to help with diagnosing and helping people with co-occurring mental health issues. We have several counselors on staff that work with people one-on-one and also in groups. We work with psychiatrists, again, from Duke, if there's any kind of medication component. Like, we definitely have people here who have bipolar disorder, suffer from depression, PTSD, all these things. Someone with an active psychosis might need to go elsewhere, and a lot of that we determine based on medications too, because we have very limited capabilities in terms of levels of medication that people can be on while they're in our program. It is a limitation sometimes, but I do feel like we're able to help a broader range of people than a lot of communities like ours might.
So let's talk about incarceration. What percentage of the people here do you think have experienced incarceration?
I believe the number is approximately 85% of our folks have been either in jail or prison at some point in their life.
Is there kind of a standard repeat offender or anything?
I mean, honestly, we get people who might have only gone to jail for a night or two, to people who were incarcerated, who were in prison for 20 plus years before coming to our program. It's really a broad range. About 40% of our folks are on active probation when they get to Trosa.
So what is the process for coming to Trosa? What does someone have to do to come here?
Honestly, they just need to call 919-419-1059 and ask for our admissions department. all the people who are in our admissions department are current participants in our program, or maybe a graduate. But everyone has experienced the Trosa program firsthand, and they'll do an assessment over the phone. Sometimes people can come in literally the day they interview. It just depends on their situation. We can help people navigate different other obstacles that they may encounter along the way. Do our best to do that.
You have a lot of the staff who have been in the program. My understanding of that is that is an extended part of your peer support program. Talk about peer support and why it is so important to this program.
I mean, it's critical in the sense that it helps, I think, in a lot of ways, the people who are first coming into the program, and whenever people encounter obstacles in the program, for them to look to someone who can say, like, I was there. I stubbed my toe in the same way. I hit my head in the same way. I ran into that same obstacle and I made it. I can't tell you how many staff have used the phrase, like, if I can do this, anyone can do this. I was meeting with some residents just the other day, and they were talking about how they were surprised when they had talked to a staff member to know that staff member had actually been through the program. They were having a hard time, like, imagining that they could become like that. But they know it's real. They know it's possible because they're looking at it themselves. They can see it with their own eyes.
Most people have families. How do you involve families in this residential program?
Well, initially, so during the first 30 days, there isn't really contact with the family. We don't know the people very well when they get here. And it's hard for us to make an assessment whether or not the family is a positive or a negative influence and how wrapped up they are in the struggles that the struggles that brought a person to Trosa. It begins them with short phone calls, letter writing. We only do one family day a year before a year. So with less than a year in the program, you would have only seen your family once. And then at a year, we do an in-house visit. And then we do regular home visits after that.
Is that something that's always been a policy for Trosa?
It has been. I know for some people it's a challenge. They'll come here and they'll say, my family's been nothing but supportive. I need that support. And, again, we try to explain, like, we try to keep the rules consistent for everyone in that sense, because it is really hard to parse out that nuance. That's very critical. I mean, for some people who are doing home visits and they've been in the program for 18, 19, 20 months, they come back from those home visits sometimes talking about some of the struggles they face on those home visits with family members who are still actively using, with people coming by who are part of the life before Trosa. And luckily they're coming back to our community and they can talk about this, and they have people who can help sort of coach them on how to process that and encourage them on how they did it and they didn't fall into the old ways, and that they were able to come back here and they're able to continue the progress that they've made. But it can be really challenging sometimes for people.
Because a big part of recovery is being able to imagine that you can become a different person. And you have to become a different person in a real sense.
Yeah, it's everyone who's coming here, people come from all sorts of backgrounds. I mentioned it earlier. And the way we try to boil it down for everyone is that everyone has the common goal of wanting a better life. And what that better life looks like for each person could be different. For some people, it might be, I want to be trusted by my family. For some people, it might want to be, I want to be there for my children. For some people, it might be, I don't want to go back to prison. Any number, it could be any number of things. But we're all working on that here. Everyone's working on it here, and everyone can have it if they sort of put the work in. The other thing that you're talking about people changing, the thing that really, in a lot of ways, I think marks the difference between people who get sober at Trosa and people who can change at Trosa is people who recognize there's a part in the program where you're just working on keeping it together. It's just, you're just trying to get by day to day and keep following the rules and staying here. And then there's a point for some people, the people who are most successful, where they start to get this feeling from helping other people. Like they've gotten enough stability that they can start helping other people, and it makes them feel good. And they start to change, in a way that they never saw before. I've heard a story told by a longtime staff member here about when he first came to the program, and he had been incarcerated for many years since he was a teenager. And he remembered a house meeting where there were two guys got up. One of them had a card from his mom that he had written for his mom, that he wanted to send to his mom. And he was working on his literacy, and this other resident got up with him and was helping him. Like he had helped him write it, and was helping him read it in front of the house. And this guy is up in front of the house and struggling to read it, and he's fumbling his way through, but he's doing it. And then when he's done, everyone stands up and cheers. And this fella who was in the program pretty new thought to himself, like, what is happening here? Like when he was in prison, he's like, this is the type, we make fun of this. Like, we don't cheer people who struggle. It's just like the encouragement, the support was something he hadn't experienced before. And that was when he realized like something different is happening here. And he realized that like the guys who were cheering are the guys that he knew some of them. He literally knew some of them before they came to Trosa, and some of them he knew what they were like. And he just realized like these guys have changed in a good way. It's like, I want to change like that too, and that caring about other people is really like, it's a critical element of the program. Or at least it's a critical element of really changing in the program. Yeah.
Are there people that you just realize are not a good fit for this, who are antisocial or just so troubled that they're not going to make it? Do you ever have to eject people?
Yeah, unfortunately, we do have to ask people to leave the program sometimes. For the most part, when people are violating the rules of the program, they're just getting accountability. They're not getting asked to leave the program. What we take very seriously and sometimes have to ask people to leave over is when they are doing things that jeopardize other people's ability to have a successful program. And we have 3 basic rules of the program. No drugs and alcohol, no acts of violence, no threats of violence. If you were to use drugs and alcohol in our program, you'd be set back. You'd either be asked to leave, depending on the severity of it, or more likely you'd be given an opportunity to restart the program. Acts of violence and threats of violence, it depends. I would say that in the 30 years of Trosa, and knowing the population of folks who have come to Trosa, I can sincerely say that we probably have fewer physical acts of violence at Trosa than happen in a regular day at a high school.
So after being here for 24 years, working with Trosa, what would you say the big takeaways are? What have you learned?
It's kind of a trite answer, but it's actually true. I think it really is, the thing I've learned is that people can change. I mean, I thought I knew that. I believed it before I came here, but it's just the next level here. The concept of how people can change. I have no sense of what the people I know here, the staff members I know who are graduates, like I can't even imagine what they might have been like before, because try to put it this way. Sorry, I'm having a hard time with the words. We have a wall in our large conference room of all the staff members, and more than 3/4 of the folks on that wall are graduates of the program. And anyone other than someone who works here, who looks at that wall, could never tell you who are the graduates and who aren't the graduates. Like, you can't tell. We're all the same like that now. I mean, we're all staff members. We're all here for the same reason right now. We're all here to help people. We love this place. We want people to be successful in their lives. And we're just not any different anymore.
According to Keith, about 25 to 30% of residents complete the entire 2-year program, with the median length of stay coming in at about 5 months. The program is completely voluntary, but Keith says the longer people stay, the better prepared they are for life after Trosa. April, do you know anybody who's gone through the Trosa program?
We have referred several people to Trosa over the years, but I did have a cousin once that completed the Trosa program and tried to do things still on his own and ended up going back, but didn't complete it the second time. But he functions a lot better with structure than not. So I know that Trosa provides that. I've actually visited Trosa and toured the facility. It's a wonderful, all-inclusive program.
Yeah, they do have a lot of wraparound services. What I'm sad to say is that Trosa has been sitting here in Durham right under my nose, and I didn't really know much about it until I started to work on the story.
Huh.
Yeah, because if I had, I would have recommended it to a family member of mine with substance use disorder. Instead, the family spent tons of money on a private rehab program. 6 years later, he's doing well in that he's staying clean, but he hasn't really been able to develop a new community of friends that doesn't revolve around alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what I like about Trosa. It's very community-oriented. And I also like the fact that they incorporate new ideas and like innovative programming as long as it's backed up by evidence-based research.
Yeah. Well, that's our show for today. Stay tuned for part 2 of our bonus series about Trosa when we meet 2 individuals who have been through the program and have transformed their lives for the better. If you want to get in touch or just listen to old episodes, check out our website, www.the98-lifeafterprisonpodcast.com.
And in closing, here's how Keith Artin replied when I asked him about Trosa's future.
It's something that we talk about with the residents here, the folks in our program. We're asking them to become a better version of themselves, to achieve a better life. I think we're a great program, and I also think we have an obligation to keep trying to get better. So we're every day working on trying to become a better version of ourselves too, as an organization that helps people.